This musing is of a psychological nature, psychological exploration. And it's not religious, it's not theological, but I might bump into your theology with some of the things that I propose and posit. You know, the human psyche, the mind, is very elaborate in continually separating our consciousness, the human condition, from God. You know, even in the spiritual community, even among those who are enlightened, they may not use the word God, but they use the word universe or cosmos. And the nuance behind that is the idea that this greater God, this greater consciousness, whatever this unnameable thing is out there in the universe, right? So even in the enlightened camp, we see the mind separating the physical world from the God world. And the reason why I am picking up on that is because of the comments that I see on my Facebook page. Not the comments, but the posts that come across my feed. Anytime we hold to the concept that God is out there, out of this, external of this, okay? If God is something other than this, which it is, but not to the exclusion of this, okay? But anytime we hold this unconscious programming that God is out there and not in here, we will not be able to bridge the gap between ourselves and other humans because of all the stuff that we're watching being played out on the world stage right now. The divisive, split perception of us versus them, left versus right, up versus down, whatever you have, the two contrasts, right? We will never be able to bring them together in harmony because we hold this overbearing programming that this greater thing that we're seeking is out there, is somewhere else, is not here, it's not in this human form, right? And so it makes it easy for us to point the finger and say, the evil cabal, you know, or the elites, they are their purpose is to imprison us, etc., etc. All of these perceptions and beliefs form out of an awareness or non-awareness, of this separation, psychic separation of the higher power from the lower power, right? Because we separated God out from the human form, we now have permission to judge evil people as evil, right? We extracted the God essence out of the murderer, out of the narcissist, because surely he can't carry the image of God because we have a certain conditioned image of what we need God to be: perfect, holy, loving, only positive, right? So when we encounter a manifestation of God in the human flesh that doesn't meet that standard, we think we have the right to judge that manifestation as evil, as demonic, as fallen, right? And this judgment will keep sowing death. It'll keep sowing hatred. It will keep sowing division because we are unable to see the divine in those darker manifestations. It isn't until we bring God, this higher consciousness, this cosmic unicorn that our mind has created, and bring it into the human form, into every human form. Even the worst person that you don't like is an expression of God, just in the denser form. And until we do that consciously, until we have this epiphany that everything is a manifestation of this obscure thing we call the divine, we're not going to be able to come into harmony. We're not going to be able to see the divine in that human expression. Now, if we did, right, it would change, completely flip the perception of how we look at other human beings. Instead of denigrating them and only seeing their negative traits, we could actually appreciate their gifts and talents, which in many people are buried because of this lie that God is separate from you and is up in heaven while you're languishing down here in hell, separated, right? That is a lie that has caused the psychic division in our mind, and what is keeping the peace from us. But if we have this singular vision, this unified vision, all of a sudden it'll become easier to see the qualities in every human being, even in the worst person that has failed at life. Every human being has unique, beautiful qualities that just were not encouraged because the judgment and the criticism suppressed the beauty of the soul. Every soul comes in with unique talents and knowledge and gifts. I'm able to see it in everyone. I know that everyone has that divine spark in them. And I can look at, even at, the president of your country. I can look at the worst person and recognize their God-given talents. They may not always be expressed in a preferential way, but they're there. The divine spark is there, is in every human being. And that can only be seen if we mend the gap and see God in the flesh, okay, in every flesh. Then we can bring in that respect and that honor and begin honoring one another. You know what it would make change? Do you know how the criminal would change if he was to get some honor and some respect instead of this constant hatred and rejection and condemnation? Love really is the frequency that heals. We just have to offer it to the worst in our society, if that makes sense. So I hope this helps somebody today, gives you something to think about.